I came back from town, whistling to myself, expecting the usual peace of my farm, the gentle rustling of the wind through the fields, the distant mooing of my bulls, and the familiar scent of fresh earth. But the moment I pulled into my driveway, my blood pressure spiked like a rocket. My front pasture, my personal land, had been transformed into what could only be described as an upscale suburban circus. Tents, lawn chairs, picnic blankets. There were at least 40 people lounging around, sipping mimosas, nibbling on charcuterie boards, and laughing as if they had paid admission to my property. Kids were running through my vegetable garden, trampling the rows I had painstakingly cultivated for months. And there, standing in the center of it all, directing traffic like she owned the place, was Diane Whitmore. I threw my truck into park so hard the tires skidded on the dirt. My farm dog, Duke, leapt from the passenger seat, barking as he sensed my fury. I slammed the door shut, my boots hitting the ground with purpose. People barely noticed me at first, too busy clinking their glasses and flipping their gourmet burgers on portable grills. But when I strode up to Diane, my fists clenched at my sides, she turned to face me with a smug little smile, the kind that made my fingers itch to grab the nearest water hose and spray her straight into next week. "Oh, Jake," she said, feigning surprise as if she hadn't orchestrated this entire disaster. "You're back early. We were just enjoying this beautiful weather on your lovely land." I stared at her, my mind struggling to process the sheer audacity it must take to set up an entire HOA picnic on someone else's private farm without so much as a courtesy call. "What in the hell," I said slowly, forcing down the rising growl in my throat, "do you think you're doing on my property?" Diane chuckled, waving a manicured hand. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. We're just having a little neighborhood get-together. The community needed a fresh, scenic place to bond, and frankly, your farm is much more picturesque than the community park." I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "You mean the community park that you personally had a hand in shutting down because you wanted to build a decorative pond instead?" She blinked at me, unbothered. Details. The point is, we needed a spot, and your farm is just sitting here with all this unused space." "Unused space?" I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached. "Diane, do you understand the concept of private property? You can't just waltz in here with your wine club and throw a damn festival in my yard." She sighed, exasperated, as if I were a stubborn child throwing a tantrum over something trivial. "Oh, Jake, stop being so territorial. You've got all these acres and nothing to do with them. Honestly, it's selfish of you not to share. Think of this as an opportunity for some goodwill with the community." I glanced around at the scene. There was an elderly woman setting up a badminton net between two of my fence posts. A group of dads was tossing a football dangerously close to my chicken coop. 2 kids were chasing my barn cat, and some man in cargo shorts was examining my tractor like he was about to put it up for auction. I took a deep breath, my pulse pounding. "I'm going to give you exactly 5 minutes to clear out." Diane rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't be ridiculous. We'll be done in a few hours. Just go inside, take a nap or something. You'll barely notice we're here." I smiled then. A slow, knowing smile that made Diane's confidence falter for the first time since I had arrived. "All right," I said, nodding. "If you won't leave willingly, I'll handle it my way." Without another word, I turned on my heel and strode toward the barn. My bulls had been locked up all day, restless, eager for some open space to stretch their legs. I had been planning on letting them out into the south pasture later in the evening, but plans change. I reached the heavy wooden gate and unlatched it with a satisfying click. The bulls snorted, sensing their freedom, their massive hooves stamping against the dirt. These weren't your friendly, docile dairy cows. These were bulls, all muscle, horns, and attitude, and they weren't used to unexpected guests in their territory. Behind me, I heard Diane still prattling on about how I needed to embrace the spirit of hospitality. That was when I swung the gate wide open. A beat of silence. Then, with a rumbling sound like distant thunder, the bulls surged forward. Screams erupted across the picnic. Lawn chairs toppled. Wine glasses shattered. Someone knocked over an entire folding table as they scrambled to run. A man dove headfirst into a kiddie pool meant for the toddlers. Diane shrieked, her designer sun hat flying off as she tried to sprint in her high heels. She didn't get far. Her foot got caught in a discarded picnic blanket, sending her sprawling face-first into the dirt. My bulls, uninterested in actual violence, merely stomped through the chaos, tossing their heads, snorting, and generally ensuring that nobody had the opportunity to feel too comfortable trespassing on my land ever again. A man who had previously been grilling steak was now attempting to scale my fence with nothing but a pair of tongs in his hand. Another woman had thrown herself into a bush, where she remained, trembling, watching the bulls as though they were fire-breathing dragons. And standing in the middle of it all, now covered in mud, her sundress torn at the hem, was Diane. Her face was red with fury, her eyes locked onto me like she was preparing to personally draft 100 lawsuits. "This isn't over, Jake," she screeched, shaking a fist as if she were some kind of cartoon villain. "You think you can intimidate me? You have no idea who you're messing with." I leaned against the fence, calm as ever, tipping my hat back as I surveyed the destruction. "Well, Diane," I drawled, "I reckon now you'll think twice before planning any more surprise picnics on my farm." And with that, I whistled for Duke, turned on my heel, and walked back toward the house, leaving Diane and her HOA circus to figure out how to escape their very unexpected bull run. Diane was still fuming by the time the last of her picnic crew limped off my farm. Some of them had lost shoes in the mud, others had wine-stained shirts from panicked collisions, and one particularly unlucky man had a streak of barbecue sauce down his leg, courtesy of an upturned grill. The bulls, now satisfied with their brief reign of terror, had retreated to their usual grazing spots, their tails flicking lazily as if they hadn't just caused a suburban exodus. I leaned against my truck, arms crossed, watching Diane struggle to compose herself. Her once pristine sundress was streaked with dirt, and a single piece of lettuce clung to her hair like a badge of humiliation. Her nostrils flared as she whipped out her phone, stabbing at the screen with a vengeance. "You'll regret this, Jake," she seethed, not even looking up. "I swear on everything you will pay for this." I shrugged. "Only thing I regret is not grabbing a beer to enjoy the show." She shot me a glare so sharp I thought it might pierce through my skull. Then, with a dramatic huff, she turned on her heel and stomped toward her car, muttering under her breath the whole way. The rest of the HOA members scurried after her, eager to escape the nightmare I had just unleashed upon them. I figured that was the end of it. I figured wrong. 2 days later, I woke up to the sound of Duke barking his head off. I threw on my boots and stepped out onto the porch, only to find a police cruiser parked in my driveway. A stout officer stood beside it, arms folded, expression unreadable beneath the brim of his hat. "Morning, Jake," he said, nodding at me. "Morning, Sheriff," I replied, stepping down the porch steps. "Something I can help you with?" He exhaled sharply, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Got a complaint filed against you. Reckless endangerment, property damage, public disturbance." I blinked at him. "Public disturbance? I live on a dam farm." He gave me a pointed look. "You released a herd of bulls on a group of people." I smirked. "A group of people who were trespassing on my land." He sighed. "Look, Jake, I know how Diane is. And trust me, between you and me, I wouldn't trust her to lead a bake sale, let alone an HOA. But she's pressing hard on this. Got her lawyer friend filing paperwork, making it sound like you nearly started a stampede straight through town." I crossed my arms, the amusement draining from my face. "So what, she wants me arrested?" "Not quite. But she sure as hell wants to drag you into court over it." I let out a slow breath, staring past the sheriff toward the open fields beyond. I should have known Diane wouldn't take the loss quietly. The woman was like a bad rash. Just when you thought you'd gotten rid of her, she flared up worse than before. "All right," I said, cracking my knuckles. "She wants a fight?"